is Postman. I believe you can see my screen very well. We are going to be looking at testing some of these features. We're going to be using what we call Json Placeholder. So we're going to be testing some of their APIs from there. Let me share. You can see my browser, so I'm going to share. I'm going to share my browser as well. So the reason why I'm sharing the screens independently, the way I'm doing right now, is because I want you to kind of like have a general view of what I'm presenting. I think a couple of people complain that sometimes they are a bit confused. When I share my entire screen. That's a complaint I got from I think it's from the designers. But if you don't have any problem with that, so I believe you should also understand what I'm going to do here. Yes, so this is JSON placeholder, and it's just like a fake API, of course, like a fake API for testing and prototyping. So just in case you want to do like a quick test, you can easily learn how to set up your projects from here using JSON placeholder. I would also show you how to test some of these stuff using JavaScript and Node. But just to be fast, we're going to really. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to test, some of these API endpoints you're seeing here. These endpoints are open, and if you run some of these endpoints, of course, you'll get the response from here, right? So if you run some of these requests, you get the response here. We're going to go ahead and test, every single. These are called endpoints, right? So these are called endpoints. So for example, you see this is basically called the host, right? This is the host URL, and this is the endpoint, right? And then this is what you call your path parameter. So I'm going to explain that to what I have here on my screen. This is the host, right? Then when you go ahead and put /todos, this is the endpoint. So we're currently accessing the todos endpoints, right? And then next we have the path parameter. And this is a path parameter because we basically have two types of parameter. We have the path parameters, we have the query parameters, and I will show you how to do that as well on Postman. Usually, has the question mark. You can put in different kind of queries, right? And you can append with the and sign to show that you are going to have multiple query parameters. For now, if I do this /1, I'm going to get the response. And the reason why you are seeing the response displayed this way, of course, is because of my browser. So I'm currently using Firefox for developers. So if you don't see this on your laptop like this, maybe if you're using Chrome or something, it might give you like a different view. But at the end of the day, it's the same JSON. So it's the same JSON. That's how you go back. Let's come back here and let's quickly do this on Postman. I'm going to change the window again. Okay, so I believe you can see. Let me go ahead and drop this URL just in case you want to test from your end. And I would advise you test from your end while you watch the stream. So I just dropped the URL for you on the chat. You can click on that to open it on your own machine. What I'm going to do right now, since you can see my Postman screen, I'm going to go ahead and create a new. I'm going to create a collection, but before I do that, I'm going to explain like the different environments you're seeing here. So let's go to the home page. So maybe you installed this for the first time. This is basically what you get. This is basically what you see. So this is basically what you see. We have a lot of API testing tool. This is one of the best solution. But we have like a host of testing tools. On my laptop, I have Insomnia. I have one of the tools for MacBooks only. I think it's called POW or POW. I think it's PAW. You can also check it out, but we're going to be focusing on Postman. So looking at what I have here, this is the home screen, right? On the home screen, we have our profile here, of course, with our organization URL. This is our organization URL, which means I can invite you to this workspace, right? So this is a workspace, and as you can see, we have different workspaces here. If I click on this, for now we just have top skill, but you can definitely create multiple workspaces. We have options, showing off the learning center, support center, boot camp, and also like a documentation trying to teach you what Postman is all about. Personally, I would advise you learn to explore by following these links, especially for the bootcamp section here. Postman is a very wide tool. Trust me, like you can do a lot with Postman. I have a few friends that are fully into automation, and you can do a lot with Postman in the field of automation. So, for example, using Postman, you can write complete automated, API testing scripts. You can actually write code within Postman, which I will just, touch, but we're not going to do much there because we only have 1 hour. Yes, we can also invite, our friends or our co-workers to our environment, right, to our team. So asking us to invite someone to this team. So I can go ahead and invite someone. Of course, I think he's already part of this team, but it's as simple as let me probably invite myself with my second email. I'll just do math.stopskill.org. Right? I hit the enter key and I'll click on send invites. I think I'll probably do it. Yeah. So once you send the invite, of course, you receive the invite in your mail. I don't want to open up my mail, of course, because I'm not sharing my entire screen. But you can go ahead and try that. You have friends that are working, doing backend code. You can invite them to your workspace. You can collaborate. Using APIs. You need to understand that APIs are more like the building block for backend development now. Regarding how you interact with your data. Of course, there are other types of backend development that might not require, working with APIs this way. Maybe you're building a backend for a desktop application, but most of the time you'll find yourself doing this. So you can just add the person's email and click on send. You can copy the link, right? You can copy the link from here, and you can share. Using this link, they can join your workspace. Also understand that you have like a limitation with the amount of people that can join your team on the free version. I think it's probably 3 to 5. But if you are on a paid version, definitely you can have more people. So you should know that we have like the free version and also the paid version of Postman. For now, we have just one team here. What we have here, they're just giving us like basic instructions on how to get started. You can create something new. You can import a file. You can explore like a host of public APIs. Or they also teach you how to work smart with Postman. What I'm going to do right now is to click on this, create new, and it's going to actually take you. I think this is opening on my second screen. Let me verify that. Oh, okay. All right. So that took a while to load. Let's new. Okay, so I think that actually took me into my workspace and then gave me this environment. We're going to get here. I think that should be all for the home screen. Also understand that this requires internet connection. Not compulsory, but some of these things, are always refreshing. You have a bunch of announcements. You can check your notification here to see your recent notifications. If there's an update, let me see that from here. So let's go ahead and explore from this side before we come back here. What I have here, of course, is my profile because I'm signed in. You can sign out. So when you sign out, you cannot access your online workspaces. So most of the workspaces we have here are online. We have a private API network, so we can. I'm going to tell you the difference between APIs and collections very soon. We can also add a couple of integrations. So you can click on browse all integration. It will show you a lot of integration for this on API Slack, as you can see, Jira. Do I have Jira here? Okay, so I have Bitbucket. Bitbucket is similar to GitHub, of course, but it's a different version control system. I think developed by Jira. We have Circle CI, which is a continuous integration tool. GitLab, also similar to GitHub. We have New Relic, so we have Travis CI. These are a bunch of tools that you are definitely going to learn to use very soon your career. We have Dropbox. I believe you know Dropbox. We have Datadog. Used majorly for monitoring. We have Azure. We have Teams. There are so many tools here, and I mean, you can also request an integration if you have a custom integration. We have what we call webhooks. Webhooks is a way to create like an endpoint that Postman can send an event to if something happens on or to your collection or to your API. So you'll get to understand some of these things are fun when you really know how to use them. I strongly believe you really enjoy them with time. So those are for the integrations. So at least I believe you understand some of these things we have here. Let's come back here. So the reason why you're seeing my profile is because I've signed in, of course. If I click on view profile, it's going to take me to my Postman profile on the web, right? On the web browser, it's going to show me my profile. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share that shortly. If you click on account setting, of course, everything here takes you, to the web and sign out would, sign you out of, your current on this app. You have multiple accounts. You can see accounts, Postman, places, collections. You can search teams. If you have teams, major focus is going to be on these three sections, though: workspace, collection, and API. But most specifically on collections, because that is what you'll find yourself using. Most of the time, at least for now, APIs are more complex. At least at this stage, you would focus on using collections, but with time, you will learn how to create API, how to write specifications and all that. So don't take writing APIs as something that might be very complex. I'll break it down very well on this session. So the next thing we have here, of course, I said it earlier, notifications. So you see a lot of messages, a lot of notifications. You can manage your notification preference, of course, from the browser. I would share my browser shortly. Then, as you can see, you can switch to workspace, to capture requests and cookies with Postman. So you can switch to let's switch to a workspace. I'm going to access this workspace. Yeah, so clicking on this, this will be able to request. This will be able to capture. We're going to definitely see how this works, but I think we'll do that very soon. We'll see how that works. So let's come down. The next thing is invites, which is what I've shown you earlier. You can actually invite someone with a specific role. You can invite someone to be an editor, to be a viewer, or to be an admin. And each of these role has different permissions, as you can see. So, for example, as a viewer, you can view the API, you can fork the API, you can export workspace resources. As an editor, you can create and edit workspace resources. As an admin, you can manage the entire workspace detail. But when you're on the free plan, you can only add people as admin. If you want to be able to specify custom roles, then you have to upgrade. So it's quite straightforward. Currently, you're seeing everything is on the cloud. So they're asking us to synchronize our work. It does that automatically though, but just in case you have more or you are working on something and maybe your network goes off, synchronization stops. When you have your network backup, then it synchronizes this to the cloud. And the reason why this is going to be synchronizing your collection is basically because you can also share that particular project to your developers or to your cloud. You can publish your collection to the cloud. And I'll show you that. In this workspace, then we have a bunch of requests, collections, APIs, environments, mock servers, and monitors. So these are basically and this is just like an overview showing you what you have. Of course, we have 9 collections, we have 3 environments. Yeah, so I think that's all we have here. So basically, we have a workspace. So let's try to understand. Let's try to break it down. We have a workspace. I would have preferred to open my draw.io tool, but I think that might take our time. So we have a workspace, and within the workspace, or within every workspace, we have this set of categories, right? We have our requests, our collections, APIs, environment. So every workspace has its own, set of these items, right? Okay, so if you can see my screen, of course, once we are on this workspace, you are seeing we have the overview, which gives us like a description, also showing us our activity. Like the most recent activity you're seeing here is Marvelous Edited Retailer Collection. I can view the change log to see the retailer collection. So I've been working recently on this project that I deployed yesterday to production. And of course, as you can see, most of the stuffs I've been working on is regarding this specific project. Um, yeah, you can also see that I have a different collection, the top skill collection that I've also worked on for some time. I have Easy Food collection. I have a Norwegian project I worked on, and you can see I have this bunch. So this is showing up, our activities, for the past couple of days or couple of weeks. Yeah, so that is it. That is it for activities. I'm not going to explore any of this. Instead, we're going to create a new collection. But before I do that, I think I should also come down to explore. And the idea of this specific feature is that we're able to explore the amount of things, right? We have a lot of workspaces. We have a lot of APIs. We have a lot of collections. So we can actually discover, these are public collections, of course. So we can actually discover, a lot of APIs and probably try to use them if they are public APIs, of course. So as you can see, it says discover high quality APIs in your domain of interest. So we have a lot of APIs around AI, around communication, data analysis, developer productivity, DevOps, and financial services. So you can read through, of course, these are curated lists by the Postman team. So you can check some of the trending workspace and collections of open APIs. We have the Salesforce Api. These are APIs that the Salesforce engineering team have built, and they leave it open for developers to probably learn and use, right? We have things like Paystack, things like Flutterwave. Of course, they have Postman APIs. I think I've used some of them in the past. I don't know if they're currently updated, but we have a bunch of APIs. You see, we have the WhatsApp Business Platform API. You can test, right? You can work with a lot of these APIs, Typeform, Stripe, right? And you can LinkedIn API. Yeah, but these are kind of like the most recent. If you click on any of these, it's going to take you. If you click on like this, any of these categories, I believe it's going to open up. Oh wow, okay. So we have it here. These are a bunch of. Oh wow, we also have the Open Banking Nigeria API. This would open up in Postman or probably. Interesting. Okay, so this opened up in Postman. So this is the Open Banking Nigeria, and we have. Wow. Okay. Hmm. So we have open banking Nigeria with a lot of collections. I'm going to explain this part, and probably we would also, test with something very simple. But just to show you, I mean, I never expected the open banking Nigerian API to have like a public version. So I will probably explore this later. I mean, this is going to be really interesting. So let's come back to explore. And of course, you've seen that you can access, a lot of open APIs just to probably see what they did, or use it for yourself. Of course, it's simple for us to come here and search for pay. Going to get or if this search is going. So this is searching in the whole of Postman. So you see we have Paystack API. We have a bunch of Paystack API. I'm very sure there's a way to verify this, which one is original. Probably you have to verify from this is a fork of the Paystack API. This is a fork. So what that means is someone actually cloned this and probably is trying to reuse it or something. So this is a fork of the original API. I'm going to go with the first one, and this is going to open up in Postman. So let's just give it a second. Yeah, and this is loading. So I think my network is also contributing to this, and I hope you guys can hear me very well. So this is an API. You see the Paystack API is grouped into a bunch of folders within this collection. The Paystack API is a collection. And you have a bunch of folders. You have the transactions, initialize transaction, verified. This is awesome. So the fact that you're able to explore straight from here, but you can also do that from the website, right? So we're not going to explore this for now. I will definitely have to come back to preview this. And this is workspace. This is a public workspace for the Paystack API, and the workspace is meant to work with defining and evolving collections. So yes, you can, of course, you would see the most recent activities. This is same Kigan. So I think, oh yeah, Paystack is okay. So I think someone is uh, probably this is not the original API. I'm suspecting as well, but yeah, you can verify this from Postman from the Paystack website as well. Okay, so that is it. Let's delete this. So now you can actually explore tons of APIs. We also have report which opens up in your browser. Of course, just like the name sounds, what you really get from here is you can try to implement. The reason why it is open in my browser basically is because um, I'm on the free version, and I think what is going to show me on my browser is that I should upgrade, right? And what it does is it's able to give us a summary of all our activities, a general overview about our entire API, more detail, more like analytics kind of thing, where we can track our API performance and the responsiveness. We can monitor the team activities and the growth. We can see failed test run if you run automatic tests, and you can also manage a bunch of resources from there. I'm just trying to make sure I, go deep down into some low-level details, so at least you understand what happens from these options here. Clicking on the API network, we can actually check out a private API network, our private API network, our public API network, and also I think this is so let's see, add the internal APIs and also partner API networks. I think this is coming soon, so this is not existing yet. This is just a feature they are currently working on. Back to workspace. Because of the fact that I visited these workspaces, you see we have these two workspaces here for now, the Paystack workspace and the Open Banking Nigeria's public workspace. Let's come back to top skill, which is our workspace. Let's go back here, home, and then we're going to go to workspace. Okay, fine. Okay, so we are currently in our workspace. Let's start with the collection. So I believe you've understood some of the things I have here, some of the other things I have here as well. We're going to get to some of these things here, which is console, also the runner, the test runner. Well, let's do some of the basic things now. The collection. We are going to create a collection. I'm going to call this. Yeah, so it's loading up. Okay, so we have a new collection. That's the default name it has, but I'm going to call this Postman tutorial. Right. So this is the name of our collection. You can use this to favorite collection. You can right click. You can click on this dots. This three dotted items you're seeing here, and of course, it means view more actions, and it gives us this drop down. Our collection. We can move our collection to someone's workspace. Run the entire collection. We can edit this collection. We can add a request. We can add a folder, which we're going to do right now. We have a bunch of other features here. You can also view the documentation of this collection if you've set up one already. Let's mark this as favorite so we can have this at the top. unmark this. Okay, so we have this at the top now. Let's add a request. And of course, what are requests? So basically, when it comes to requests in APIs, um, these are a bunch of messages that you're going to send to a server. And these messages have a format. What we are currently working on is regarded as a REST or a RESTful API, which most companies work with. So, for example, the URL I dropped there, which is the JSON placeholder, it was implemented with like in a RESTful format, of course. Working with JSON, so we can easily grab the URL. I'm going to grab the base URL, which is the host name. Currently selected. I'm currently on a GET request, and we have different types of requests you can send to your server. These are regarded as HTTP verbs, and they are more like the specific action you're trying to perform. So, for example, when you say get, it means you're trying to get something from the server. Post, you're trying to send something to the server. Put, you're trying to update. You can use this for updates. At the end of the day, you can actually use, you can use these verbs to mean separate or different things. But it's always good you follow the pattern, right? So, for example, I can actually use a post request to get items. It doesn't matter, but it's good to follow this standard so that you don't have to confuse other developers working with you on a project. So this will be used to get some details. So for now, I get the entire website. It's going to give me like a response, but this response is more like the website itself, right? So, and it's telling us status 200, which means this was successful. But ideally, it makes sense to get the HTML part of the whole thing. So let's just go to the endpoint, which is the to do, and I can request the first to do. I'm surprised that we have 404. I think it's supposed to be to do's, right? Okay, so it is to do's, and you can see we have. Let me see if I can zoom in. Right? Okay, yeah, I can. Okay. All right. So you see, we have like the first set of item. I'm going to explain some of these things. Let me come back here. So, as I said earlier, these are verbs, HTTP verbs. These are some of the main verbs you're going to be using. There are so many of them, but you're going to you're going to find yourself using like the get, post, put, patch, and delete most of the time. Most of the time, you won't find yourself using the rest. Honestly, just the get, post, put, and delete. Because the put can be used for updates. Also, the patch most times is used for updates. So you can use it interchangeably, but I think we will be using the get, post, put, and delete. All right, so get is to get items, post is to post items. So you have to put in your URL here. Our request does not have a name right now, as you can see. It's just called new request. That is the default name. So we can edit this and we can call this get to do's, right? So we can say get single to do item. So we have get single to do item. I said this once again. You see the data was returned from the server. Yeah, so these are the query parameters that I was talking about. So when you add an item here, for example, we can say item, right? Now this is giving us query parameters, right? One. So for example, you see the way it appended this item. It gave us this off. So it's telling us item equals one. This is a query, right? So if you're working on like a Node.js backend, of course, you can access this using the request.query. You can get this item. Yeah, it's quite easy to do that. Okay. So once you add your items here, so this is a path parameter. As I said earlier, this is a path, right? Like /1. Adding items here will give you the query parameter option, or you can also do that manually yourself, right? And you see we have that item in here now. I'm typing it manually equals 1. Can you see that? If I put the and, we have like the item equals 1. We have name, just an example, and name equals marvelous, right? You see it's automatically coming in here. You can add descriptions if you want to, not necessary though, but you can, and then you can send. Sending this, of course, is not going to give us anything. 404 not found because we just added this manually, which is wrong. So let's go back and we have the to-dos. Yeah. So this is our first to-do. So we can have two, right? Have three, right? You're saying we have different to-do items. And what if we just do to-dos? It gives us all the items, which I feel is about 100 items. I think it's 200 items. Okay. So it gave us 200 items. Let's come back to the beginning. One. All right. So to-dos, this is a different parameter. So we can call this yeah, so for now, this is get single to do. We can add a new request, add request, and we can say get all to do's, right? We can just come in here. So this is to get a single to do. We can come in here and call this to do's. That's a mistake. So this gives us all. So you see the way we are able to structure this. Currently, we have two. We just have two requests, right? So the get single um, to do item and get all to dos. Okay, so all you have to do, of course, click on send. You can actually send and download the data that comes back, or download the data that you sent. So from the params, you can add multiple query parameters. We have authentication, which basically you will use to add some sort of header, some sort of header. Basically, when you are sending this data to your backend, you want to add like a token or something. It comes in here. You can also add token into your query parameter, but basically this is the standard way to add different type of authentication. We have a bunch of them, but most of the time you find yourself using keys and bearer token. Most of the time that does not depends on your level of maturity when using Postman. I think sometimes, depending on what you build, you would learn to define for yourself. But starting out, you'll find yourself using either the API key or bearer token. Okay, so let us take this off. Noted. So for the headers, requests, in the past, maybe you're trying to view this request from a browser, you'll be able to identify what are called headers. I'm going to show you an example. What I would have to do for now is change the screen or change the window I'm sharing. I'm going to share my entire screen, just to show you what this looks like from here, right? So I'm going to inspect the element on my browser. I'm very sure you can see my screen. Click on networks, and I'm going to refresh this page. So now that I'm the number of things are going to load up from here. There is on this, which is the get the JSON, and these are other items. These are others. We have access control, page, control, a lot of items, last modified. So basically, you get. I mean, you can inspect. You can inspect some of the requests, like the get, the post, the delete. You can actually inspect this on your browser, and you see we have the response attached to this with the specific response gotten back by the browser after sending the request. So these are just the headers which I want you to see, and I also want you to understand that you can add headers for yourself by default. By default, Postman had a bunch of headers for you, like you see the Postman token, the host, the user agent. So Postman had this bunch of headers for you, but you can also go ahead and hide it and add your own key value pair for your headers. You can also add a body to a request. Of course, you cannot add a body to a get request, but you can definitely add a body to your post request, you can add a body to your patch request, to your put request. I think sometimes a lot of people have asked me, is it possible to use to pass a body maybe like to the delete request? And it really doesn't work. I mean, it's possible to add it, but at the end of the day, you might end up having errors. And from from the standards of building APIs, REST APIs, it's not advisable to pass like somebody to your delete request. Instead, we will advise to use the post, right, to make that delete. So if you want to delete something from your server, you'll be advised to use the post. If you want to add some sort of body, maybe you need the body to do some kind of manipulation you'll be advised to use the post. So this is for the get request. We are able to get a bunch of items. So let me quickly explain what we have here. First, right? You get the response. We're going to come back to some of these things. We have to move down to this point because the next thing we should be testing is probably the post, right? Well, let's quickly go to response. So this is the response part, right? And everything that has to do with the response comes in here. This is the request body. This is the response body. And this is where you put in your request items or your request data. Also, save with this. You can save as, to change the detail that you want to save with. So by default, you get this view of your request. And of course, we have a lot of status codes, a whole lot of them. We have status codes ranging from 100 to 500 into groups, of course. We have 500, which is errors, a bunch of server errors. We have 400, which most of the time would be the client error, probably trying to send in something and is trying to access a page that is not found, or is trying to access a resources that is not found, or maybe it is not authorized, right? So each of them have, their bunch of, or each category has like a bunch of code and meaning. So I'm just going to do HTTP status codes. You don't need to cram these items. You don't have to. With time, you will definitely learn which to use. So you see, these 500 are server errors, 400 are client errors, 300, of course, are redirection errors, 200 are successful responses, not errors this time. I'm sorry, I meant redirection messages, not errors. And 100 to 199 are information responses. So, for example, a platform that uses 300, I think, is Google. So, if you access google.com, which I'm going to show you right now with the get request, right? HTTPS google.com. What we're going to get here is this is 200. So I think if you access www.google.com, let's see. I was expecting to see a redirect. So I need to verify if we really. Am I making a mistake or something? Okay. Mm, okay, so ideally, when you request google.com, it usually redirects you, especially if it's www dot. It usually redirects. I don't know if things have changed already, but I'm going to verify with one of the major tool. I think just give me. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I would get that redirect response, and I did not. Okay, so probably some things have changed. Ideally, by default, I mean before, it's actually supposed to redirect us to like the main. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So I think 301. Okay, so when you access google.com itself, it redirects you to www. I don't know why. I think Postman is doing the redirection under the scene, under the hood. But by default, using the call tool, it tells us 301 moved, which means this has been moved, and it's saying this document was moved. So you have to access this. But of course, on your browser, the redirection, that's why it's called a redirection. It happens automatically and it redirects you to this particular page. So if you type in google.com on your browser, copy this because I need to share it with you. So if you type in google.com here, you see it took us down to the www. Which means the redirection happened. And of course, I think we should be able to also inspect that from here, from the network. I can clear this whole thing. Just try again. So let's see, the first thing we get is the redirect. You see, 301 was able to redirect us. It says move permanently, and it redirected us to the www dot, which says 200, which means it was successful. So understand some of these codes, especially when you see the range, right? For me, the way I do it is I try to understand the range. So if I'm working on a note on a code base, for example, a backend code base, and I'm getting some kind of error from Postman. If it's a 500 error, I'm very sure that the problem is coming from my node server. If it's a for something error, I'm very sure that the problem is coming from the front end. If it's a 200, something around 200, I know it's successful. 100 is informational. If it's 300, it means there's a redirection happening somewhere. So try to check it out, and it's quite easy. Okay, so that is it for the status codes. Please go through the lists and try to understand some of them. Let's just test this this random. So this we have 100 posts. If we do the slash posts, we have about 100. This is I believe we can also do like the so we have post, we have put, we have delete. We're going to try all of them. Let's just test to see how to get all the items. So I'm going to do posts. So you see we have a lot of posts, which means you can actually use this to create a very simple, probably like a blog or something, right? So you can actually use this. What is the time? Okay, good. We still have a little bit of time. We have slash comments, just to be fast. This gave us a bunch of items. We are currently in the pretty view. That's why it's properly structured. We can go to the raw view. It gives us in form of raw text. We can go to the preview, which of course is not the best option you might want to use. And I think for me, I usually use the preview if I'm response, or maybe like some sort of HTML content as a response. I can preview it here, right? Visualize. I hardly use visualize, but I also think it's a form of, to preview your data, right? If I think it's a form of visualizing your data. I've not used it. I've not seen anyone using it, but I strongly believe it's a way to kind of like visualize your data, especially if your data is coming in multimedia formats. I might be wrong, but I think that's what it does here. Okay, so preview raw pretty. Let's stick to pretty. We have cookies. We're able to see if there's some cookies coming back. We're able to see the headers that we're getting back as a response. We can also decide to create a test and run that test, and we get the test result from here. We're not doing that now, but I'll just give you an hint on how that is done. So what we get here basically at the end of the day is response. So we have albums. Let's also do that. Let's see. Is that correct? Yeah, that is correct. So we have a bunch of albums there. We have photos. So let's see photos. Let's see if it gives us photos. So let's see if we can visualize if that works here. That does not work. Okay, so we have a bunch of URL that will definitely contain some images. So if I click on this, for example, it opens up on the browser. Let's see. So we have the thumbnail view and the large view. So this is just an endpoint showing all different photo items that we can play around with. We have produce, of course, and users. So you can actually get to build a very simple application if you are trying to learn how to work with APIs using this Json Placeholder API. So let's try these HTTP methods. We've tried the get. We've tried the get for saying use a query parameter for the post ID. Let's go ahead and try that. So I'm going to paste this here. Slash comments. So this is more like saying I want to get the comments where the post ID is 1, right? We can also let's try if we can do email equals this, if it will work. Okay, so that worked. So we are saying we're able to parameter to actually get. So this is working because it is implemented on the backend to work that way, right? So we're able to use the query parameter to get some of these items. This gives us the post. So let's do a very simple post request here. So we have posts, and we have slash post. I think if I'm correct, slash post. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to post a new data. Structure of the post is, right? You need to see that structure. So this is what the structure looks like. And then let's go back to post. and let's try to post a new item. If I try to post without the body, it went through, it tells us created, but of course, we don't get any additional value here. So I'm going to paste this. And before I paste that, you need to see what I selected. By default, this is going to be none. You can post what we call a form data. Now, I don't want this to be too overwhelming for you, but the form data is something you can use to upload, multimedia files, right? Multimedia files like your images, your video. Of course, you can also use it to upload text, right? Simple text. You can definitely use it to upload text. Yeah, but I think most importantly, you need to understand that if you're not using JSON, then you can accept items as form data items. And if you're using like your default HTML forms to send data, most of those data on HTML forms, I believe, are going to come in as form data. But we also have another option called the form URL encoded, which you can also use to pass data to your backend. But at the end of the day, if you're working with JSON, we're going to use raw. We also have binary, which can also be used to send a file. You see, we can select a file from here. From the form data, we can also select a file, but that now we can add like a key. So, for example, I can say on the front end, I can put in like a form and say you can submit your CV, and I'm expecting a CV on the end. So I'm going to this CV as a key value to be a file, and then I select a file. I'm going to select like documents, my CV, and I'm able to attach my CV from here. And when I send this, the backend is able to grab my CV if I already programmed the backend to expect some data, right? Which is not difficult to do. I will show you. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. I would try to show you how to do that, but we're already running out of time. So if I click on raw, you see I can select multiple type of raw data, probably JavaScript, HTML, XML, and JSON. Most of the time, you will find yourself using JSON or XML. So let's go to JSON, and I'm going to paste the sample I copied. I copied this sample, right? You have to learn on how to come up with structured JSON data, and you can also learn to do that using JSON formatter. So you can create your JSON in here, validate it before using it. But of course, Postman would also help you to show you when you make some errors. You see, I have a comma here, and this is the last item, and Postman is telling me this is wrong. So I can take this off, and I can choose to take off some items from here, right? But for now, I'm just going to upload this with the post command. I'm going to say this is a new title. And for the body, I'm also going to say this is a simple post body. And if I send this, this is going to come back as you see, we have a new ID. So remember that the posts were actually 100 items. Let me also share this with you. So remember that the posts were actually 100 items, right? And I added a new item, which gives me 101, 101. This is not saved on the backend because, of course, we don't have access to that. But it's just telling me that this was successful, and we just created like a new item, right? So we can also use the puts, to update. But of course, it's not going to persist, right? It's just going to make us understand if it worked or not. So let's first get all the items again. So these are all the items. This is the first. So this is the number one item, and we're going to try to update this item. So I'm going to drop this in here, change this to a put, right, which is for updating. Make sure this is correct. And as you can see, when you're working with strings, so a Postman or a JSONs actually understand two types of data, a number and a string. This is a string. It also accepts a Boolean, I believe. So we can say status, for example, this should be a string, and then we can have the true, can we? So this works. So this is a Boolean kind of value, true or false. But at the end of the day, of course, this is a string, this is a number. Let's take that off. So we're trying to update this item, right? And I'm going to say, I'm going to change this from SUNT, I'm going to change this to Mav, John. I don't know what this is. So let's take that off, and part we're just going to say software development. And we're using a put, of course. So let's go ahead and see what we have here. Put/1. You can hit enter. That did not work. Let's see our response. So we get 404. Put/1. Okay. So 404 means it was not found. So you see, we're able to just update this. We get John software development. But of course, as I said earlier, it did not persist, which means if we go ahead and get all the posts again, it's not going to change. We're going to get back like the default, right? So just telling you that works, right? With puts, you can try that with patch. You can try that with delete. So basically, you can try that. And the items, as I said earlier, we have something else called a GraphQL, but we're not going to do that. I think Postman started supporting GraphQL more recently. So we're not going to do that because, of course, you will not understand this properly except we have to work with GraphQL, which we're not doing. Because most of the time, this is what you are going to do. So there are a bunch of other things that we can do with Postman, right? We can do what we call testing. Of course, it has a console, meaning any request you send, you can actually access it from the console. So we did a get request, no detail, the address we sent it to, the address we are using, as Postman, the address we are using. We're also able to check if Postman automatically, of course, we're accessing something with SSL, right? So Postman is able to append its own TLS value, so we don't get an error. We have a bunch of request headers here. We also have a bunch of response headers. So these are the response we get, the headers. Then we also have like response body, and we are able to, access the response body straight from here. So this is, quite straightforward. We also have like some other things, as I said earlier, the tests, which I'm going to get to right now. We're going to be fast. We have what we call the pre-request script. Basically, the way it works is you can actually write code in here. So I said that earlier, and I said if you're doing like automation with Postman, then yes, you can do that. It also works like tests. The only difference is this is going to be sent before the major request is sent, right? So this is the pre-request script, or this is going to be run first. So you can actually run the pre-request script first before the main request is sent. So let's try to see if we can. Let's just do console.log. This is the pre-request script, right? So if we send this was successful. Let's go to the console and let's see. So you see, it first ran this. This is the pre-request script before running this. Can you see that? So we're able to add like a bunch of scripts. We want to perform some operations first. You can actually access the Postman environment. So you can to access like a bunch of things from there. Postman has its own library within this, and you can access a lot of things like global requests, variables, a lot of things within Postman. This is the complex stuff, but you just need to understand that it's possible, right? You can actually write more interesting tests. They have like samples that you can work with, right? They have samples you can definitely, let's bring this back up. They have a bunch of sample snippets you can work with. We don't have enough time to explore this, but it's possible to probably use this like, we want to send a request before we run this test, right? We want to send a request. So you can do a bunch of things. We have a Postman send request, which is, part of the Postman embedded library to be able to perform some, additional operations. You can see this has a callback, so you can perform some sort of things here before even running running your main script, or you can use this to create a test. So we can create a test to say anytime we want to run this, this should tell us if our API has a problem or not, or if it's working well or not, right? So we can do all this. You can go to this particular setting for this specific request. You can configure to see use SSL to use a bunch of options here. I mean, we need to check this out. You really need to check this out. So it's one more thing I would want you to understand here. Probably it would just be like something you should practice with is trying to understand some other parts here. I'll just do like a quick explainer. The APIs here is used to create APIs. APIs are actually more concrete than just having a collection. actually build up like an API in here, like more like a mock API. You can build up the API, you can mock the API. The way it works at the end of the day is, you use what we call the Open API specification, which is a more advanced stuff around APIs. I'm not going to go in depth, but you can actually build up like a specification. I have a bunch of specification I built what I call that, but you can build up a specification, using a Open API as a spec, using GraphQL, using a WSDL. These are different specifications, and you can specify if you want to use YAML, set a version of API. You can say this is the pet API. I'm going to show you a sample very fast. So I'm going to go down to Swagger, what we call Swagger UI. I think it's called Swagger UI. Let me quickly see. Okay, so this is not given. This is actually taking us to something totally different. I just wanted to grab something from the default Swagger editor. Yeah, I think it's called the Swagger editor, editor.swagger.io. So forget about what Swagger does for now. I'm just trying to show API. But the problem with creating an API is you have to really understand how to create the API schema, which is quite interesting when you know how to use it, right? So with time, you're going to learn how this. And when you really know how to create your APIs, you see, we have a pet API, we have the version, and what happens here is the API is being generated based on the definition. For now, we don't have a definition, but I can create this is what I copy automatically here for this is to then learn how to do this, right? But the amazing thing about this is so surprisingly it says it was not able to create this, which is okay. So I think this is using Swagger 2.0. Let's see if this is the reason. So it's telling us invalid JSON found. I need to know the yeah. So I think this will definitely work based on the spec we have. Of course, based on the spec. But we're not going to go like deep down into this for now. So I just wanted to. Oh, I think the problem is because I selected JSON here. I would have selected to here because we're selecting the wrong version. So, but as you can see, we still have errors. We need to go to 2.0. Let's see if that works. So we have 0 errors now. So you see we're able to have this is basically, API first development approach, right? But you don't need to do this. You just have to understand that Postman can, generate a bunch of APIs for you. And from the API that we've generated already, we can just click on this button. We have a bunch of tools here, right? But this is a simple way to generate a collection. We can generate a collection, call this the pets. So we can actually generate a collection. We can add like a mocking, or we can just generate the documentation. And what mocking actually means is that we can generate this server and give out the URL for developers to start testing, even when we don't have a backend. We're not going to do this very complex. We can create like a monitor to monitor our collection, but this is just the simple part. We generate the collection, and this collection is from your API in here. So if we search through on this part, we should be able to see our pets API collection, and these are the stuffs or the endpoints we get from the collection that we generated from. So this is quite a lot to take in. So you don't really need to bog your head around this. The major thing you need to understand is you can create a collection, you can create a folder, you can add requests, straight from here. But we have one of other things that Postman can do, which is generating collections, creating environment. So this is a very vital part, right? We're trying to create an environment. You see, I have 3 basic environments, for my local testing, for my production, also for this top skill environment. And the idea around the environment is you're able to create like add in a bunch of uh, yeah, so we can add in a bunch of variables and work with these variables. I think I'm going to stop here for now. So, but this is what it is, right? So when we say environments, you have like let's call this let's call type environment, just an example. And within the type environment, we can add something called the URL. And we say, okay, what is the URL of our pets, of our JSON placeholder? This is the base URL. So we can add the base URL in here, the initial value. So you can add more URL items, especially like secret items like tokens and the rest of them. But this is just the URL. And if we go back to our collection, we go back to the pets, not the pets API, the Postman tutorial. We go to single to do items. Instead of having to paste this whole base URL, we can just select the environment that we just created, type environment, and then we can put the URL like this, and this URL is going to reference the pets environment URL we added there. So you see that in Postman you can actually call variables using the double curly braces, just like this. So if you have more values in there, you can definitely add more items in here as well. And this is quite interesting because, of course, it will also give you your value correctly, right? Your response correctly. So you can use a bunch of URL patterns. This is what we have right now. You can also come here and also add URL, but of course this is wrong, right? It won't work because at the end of the day, what you're going to have would make this, this endpoint wrong, right? So we have 404 not found. So this is valid, right? This is properly implemented right now. So you can actually use this, your URLs in multiple parts, and of course you expect it to work. You can use it in multiple parts. I think mostly around the value part here, right? So this should work as you can see. So we're not doing this for now, but I mean, it's quite reasonable to understand that, yes, this is how the environment works. And it's quite interesting because you don't have to repeat items. You just have it in there dynamic and you can easily, change it from here. You can easily use the variables from here. And whenever you want to change it, you can just come down here and, click on the environment and change the value. And that is all. That is all we are going to talk about for now. We have talk close, and we're not going to discuss because of time, but try to explore this yourself at probably next session that we have. We'll definitely we'll just cover a little bit about pattern, do something very interesting, perhaps create a simple REST API, launch it on my laptop and have you test what I have here from your end using a very wonderful tool like I call it Rock, but I mean that's what a lot of people call it as, but you can also pronounce it as NG Rock. Okay, so that should be all for now. Thank you very much and have a wonderful night.